G'day guys, in today's review I'm going to be unboxing and trying out the Smartfire BBQ Temperature Controller, a must-have for every serious barbecue user who wants to take the hassle out of monitoring and controlling your barbecue pit temperature and getting the meat to that perfect temperature that will ultimately result in an amazing meal for you and your friends and family. The Smartfire uses Wi-Fi and Bluetooth to connect to your smart device and home network. Once it's connected, you'll be able to set and forget it, even head out to the shops or the pub and monitor and control it from there in real time via the cloud server. Make sure your pit has enough fuel in it and the area around your barbecue is safe before leaving it unattended though. Please be mindful of any fire hazards and local laws where you live and comply with them at all times. Make sure children and pets cannot access the area where your barbecue is situated, especially while it is unattended. Opening the case, which is a really good quality nylon weave material, we have a nice little personalised note from the team at Smartfire with some info about how to connect and set up the unit, plus how to get connected to the Smartfire community on social media. A great group to ask questions and learn tips and tricks. Here's a cool sticker I'll be sure to find a spot for somewhere. The hard foam inside is very sturdy and will be great for protecting the Smartfire unit and the probes. Here we have the actual unit, which is made from high quality plastic and houses the electronics and fan module. The large socket is for the power supply and the smaller ones are marked as pit and meat probes. You can choose how many probes you buy with your kit at checkout. You can plug in one pit probe and up to 3 meat probes. They're even colour coded. The red one is the pit probe and you'll notice it's blunt at the tip, and the meat probes are black and have sharp tips for poking into the meat. There is also a metal clip included for holding the pit probe on the barbecue grill. Now this next item is a really cool idea and very useful. This is a spring-powered retraction spool for your probes to keep the wires neat and tidy. There's nothing worse than a bird's nest of wires when you just want to cook meat. I'll have more on how to use these later. A USB power cable is supplied, but you'll need to provide your own USB power supply. A phone charger will do the trick. Most people have a few odd ones laying around the house, and as long as the output is at least 1 amp, it will power up, but more on that later. Last but not least, here is the universal adapter mounted in a cake tin, which I'll show you how to mount later on. You can use the universal adapter mounting nut if you wish to drill a dedicated hole in your barbecue, but I opted not to do that as my ProQ XL is brand new and I don't want to void the warranty. The cake tin is a great idea that only costs a couple of bucks and takes about half an hour to make and mounts over a daisy wheel on your barbecue. You'll also need a bolt, 2 washers and a wing nut to mount it. Okay, let's head outside and I'll show you the hardware installation. Put your barbecue somewhere where you have plenty of light and can make a mess if you need to. Next, we're going to mount the cake tin adapter over a daisy wheel, so have a think about which one might be most convenient to use. In my case, the tin didn't fit properly over the tab of the daisy wheel, so a pair of strong pliers was needed to bend the tab at a sharper angle to fit inside the tin. Take care when doing this that you don't snap off the tab completely. If you have a decent bend radius, don't bend it back and forth, you should be fine. First, make sure the daisy wheel is fully open. Insert the bolt with washer through the hole in the cake tin and mount it to the daisy wheel. Attach another washer and the wing nut and screw it down firmly, but not so tight that you bend the metal. When installing the probes, be careful not to crush or kink the wires. My ProQ has these handy rubber grommets in the side, specifically for probe wires, which was a major reason I bought it. Put your pit probe somewhere central out of the way of direct heat, not touching any metal or meat which could cause incorrect readings. I'm using scoria rock instead of water in the water pan as it provides a heat sink and doesn't boil off, requiring you to keep topping it up. Alright, let's get some charcoal in the chimney while we get the Smartfire plugged in and connected. First, download the Smartfire app from the store, plug in the power to the Smartfire unit, check the cyan LED on the unit is active and turn on the Bluetooth in your phone. Open the app and follow the instructions to pair the device. If you don't see the unit in the device list, check that it is listed in your Bluetooth scan. If not, just refresh it. Once it is connected to your Wi-Fi and the app, Connect the probes and test them by placing just the tip ends in freshly boiled water. They should all read the boiling temperature of water or just below it, 100 degrees centigrade or 212 Fahrenheit at sea level. Be careful not to get water inside the probes by submerging them fully in water, as this will cause damage and mess your day right up. If you need to clean them, use a damp cloth or some Scotch-Brite or steel wool to scrub off the hard bits. Also, be careful not to drop the probes on the floor, as the thermocouple inside is delicate and can break with rough treatment. Set up the pit and probe parameters in the app. Take some time to explore and see what you can do with it. It really is quite feature-rich with settings for different meat, temperatures, hot and cold warnings, the ability to turn the fan on and off if you need to, open lid mode, which detects a sudden drop in temperature when opening the lid and stops the fan from trying to flare up the fire to correct it. You can access the graph from a previous cook by having your Smartfire turned on and connected and at least the pit probe plugged in. Then tap this area below the pit probe to access the graph page. Tap the settings icon in the top right, then fill in the details for the time and date and length you want to view in the graph. I'll briefly explain how to interpret the graph you see here. The coloured lines correspond to each probe which is connected, as shown in the legend at the bottom. The brighter line is the actual temperature sensed by the probe, and the dim line is what you have set in the probe setup as the target temperature, and therefore where the alarm will sound once that temperature is reached or exceeded. The temperature scale is shown on the far right, and the fan duty scale is shown on the far left. The fan duty record is shown in the background as this grey area. Where this sharp dip in temperatures is shown, you can see the open lid mode function has disabled the fan until it detects a rise in pit temperature, which tells it that you have replaced the lid. Normally only the pit probe temperature would drop when you open the lid if the meat probes were inserted into the meat, but in this case I had not yet put the meat into the barbecue, so the meat probes were sensing pit temperature and touching the metal grill. Read all of the manual on the app before setting up, as there is vital information you need to know before setting it up and cooking. In particular, you will need to check that your Wi-Fi is 2.4G and set to 20 MHz only, otherwise you will experience random fluctuations in connectivity which will frustrate you no end. Also, special characters like apostrophes in the Wi-Fi name can hinder connection. You will need to know how to access the settings of your Wi-Fi router and check this. If you need to access the advanced settings, tap the pit probe area, tap the settings icon in the top right, tap settings, then tap this chemistry flask icon. You will be shown a warning that changing these settings could have undesirable results. Accept it, and you can now change the advanced settings. The default settings should be fine for most people though, so only change them if you understand what you are doing and the effects it will have. Also of high importance is the use of a stable power supply. While most phone chargers of at least 1 amp supply at 5 volts will power the unit, the electronics and thermocouples in the probes are very sensitive to small voltage fluctuations produced by many types of chargers, which can give you erratic and erroneous readings on your graph, also highly frustrating. Most users find that a good quality high capacity power bank of at least 10,000 milliamp hours will easily last all day long, as long as it's fully charged before you start, and it will give you much more stable temperature readings. The one I have is a brand called Smark, but there are many good brands on the market today. You can even use another phone or iPad with a 3G data connection to provide a Wi-Fi hotspot if you're away from home and if there's no regular Wi-Fi to connect to. Very handy if you go on vacation or to the beach or a barbecue competition. Just make sure to set it up and test it first before you really need it. I took mine away for a weekend getaway recently and successfully used it with an iPad providing the hotspot. When you first get the Smartfire reels, they may need to be wound up a little bit tighter, so just keep pushing this backwards and you'll hear it go click. Until you feel it get tight. Don't push it too far or you'll break it. You'll notice inside the little hook there's a little red trigger. Now that's for the wire when we put it on there. You take your probe wire and you fold it in half. So put these two ends together like that, and then you should get a nice little loop halfway along the probe wire. And then what you do is you thread it through here into the winder, and then you pull gently just to release that red trigger inside. You'll feel it go click, and now's when you just release it and let the spool, the spring in the spool, wind your probes onto the winder. So here's my final thoughts on the Smartfire, having used it for a few cooks and been part of the Smartfire user community on Facebook for about 6 months. I'm a novice barbecuer and I'm still learning a lot about the finer arts of low and slow barbecue, and my technique still needs a lot of refining, but I'm happy with where I'm going and the Smartfire is definitely helping. Ease of use. If you know how to use a smartphone or iPad and have some basic handyman skills, you will be able to install and use the Smartfire. I did have a few technical hiccups when trying to set it up for the first time, but I just had to reset the setup and start again. From my observations, connection issues were the most common problem experienced by the users in the Smartfire community. The Smartfire seems to be quite picky about Wi-Fi and power supply, which took me quite a while to work out. You will have to follow the instructions online and in the app manual for most troubleshooting, and the Facebook users group are very helpful for anything else. 3 stars. Construction quality. I was very pleased with the case, the unit, the probes and spools and the adapters. The unit housing is a strong, high quality plastic which can be replaced if it gets damaged. A warning though, you will need to monitor the pit temps and any backdrafts, as too much heat can melt this plastic, as a few unfortunate users have experienced. And if too much damage is sustained, the electronics inside can be damaged too, so then you'd have to throw the whole unit away. At normal operation, however, my unit never got further than slightly warm, and using the cake tin adapter kept it well away from hot coals. Always mount it on the side of the firebox, not directly underneath where hot coals could drop into it. 5 stars. Features. The inventor of this product is an avid competition barbecuer, so it is well thought out and has everything you need and nothing you don't. Well, you can't please everybody, but I think most people will be very happy with the abilities of the Smartfire. I'm quite keen on home automation, and there is the capability to integrate this into your existing home automation if you know what you are doing. 5 stars. Accuracy of control. Once I became familiar with how it works, I was able to get very accurate results. It really is a temptation to keep checking on the meat to make sure the Smartfire is working properly, but the more you let the heat out, the harder it has to work to stabilize the temperatures. Just set and monitor it on the app. For best results, I now use a power bank which gives very stable readings. I think there could be an improvement perhaps in the electronics to smooth out fluctuations in power supply voltage so that any charger could be used, but it's not a biggie. 4 stars. Product support. The team at Smartfire is very helpful and responsive to messages and emails, and will do their best to look after you. Any bugs in the firmware or software are usually rectified in a timely fashion, with updates and increased capabilities added regularly. I have been impressed with how much the software and stability has improved over the time I have been using the Smartfire. You can also make a support request and register your unit from the app itself. Tap on Settings, Registration and Support, and fill in your details. 5 stars. Alright, thanks for watching. If this video was helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Links to everything in this video are in the description. Feel free to leave a comment below, and do let me know if there's anything else you'd like me to include in future videos. Your support of my channel is appreciated, so hit that subscribe button if you want to see more. Cheers!